at the May Institute. Some things that we definitely look for in new hires are empathy. We're working with individuals with developmental disabilities, so being able to be empathetic to the individuals as well as the families. That's something definitely that we look for. Teamwork, with a lot of entry-level positions. There are assistant teacher positions, and so you're working with a lead teacher, you're working with the clinical team, you may be working with the nursing department, and definitely being able to communicate with others is something that is huge, and you'd be surprised at how many people, may struggle with that. So I guess those are my top two. I mean, I could go on, and I asked some folks that I work with too these questions. Another one that somebody said was professionalism and professional boundaries. So that's another one.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Might warrant some further discussion on that one, but yes, good. Paul?
So actually, as we're doing that interview process or looking at the new candidates, there are actually levels that you look at. And the very first piece of that would be that professional piece that you was mentioning. Professional dress, professional writing in their application, professional way of greeting you when they come in. So that first impression is very important, that level of professionalism, because they are representing us to the public once they come and they work with us. Once we start to talk to those candidates, what I'm looking for are people who I'd say possess the 3 C's: caring, confident, and competent. We're working with children, we're working with families, they're diverse backgrounds. I need people who genuinely care about the clients that we have, the students that we're working with, those families. I need them to be confident because they're the decision makers. When I have a teacher in the classroom, that person has to make the decisions and they have to think quickly. They have to be confident about their own abilities to do that. And competent. They need to be able to make those good decisions, and that's really important. So we're looking for those 3 areas, and then the rest of it all falls into place.
So I'm going to try and talk about a little bit about things that weren't already discussed. So from from our position in the business world, of course, communication is extremely important. You're going to be interacting with not only your peers, people at management level, but our clients. And we are looking to send you out into the field, and we expect a certain level of professionalism and ability to communicate. But on top of that, we're looking for individuals that are so self-motivated. So in our industry, the individuals are expected to become CPAs. So we need those individuals who are passionate about what they're going to do. That's very important to us. So we need, students that are showing passion for what they do, that are going to be self-motivated individuals, and, also really have strong work ethic. So, when you're in the business world, you need individuals that, will be able to, to work hard, to, multitask, be leaders, and, those are things that you find in the classroom, but in a lot of cases, those are things that you're going to develop outside of the classroom with those, opportunities that you have to be involved in, areas that are, whether they're extracurricular activities, whether they're teams that you participate on, whether they're, maybe it's a study abroad that you do that will kind of take you outside your comfort zone and, challenge you a little bit more. And, that's what we're looking for.
So all of you have actually touched on a couple of traits and elements that we might describe as soft skills. So Jessica, that's a nice segue into asking, for those who may not understand the differences between, say, soft skills and hard skills, if you could kind of talk a little bit about that, and then I have some subsequent questions for the rest of the panelists. Just so that you know, we are going to do an exercise at the table that's going to focus on hard and soft skills. So Jessica, if you could kind of...
Yeah, so I'd say soft skills are character traits, sometimes personal qualities, habits, sometimes there are interpersonal skills that are definitely desirable in the workplace. Sometimes they're hard to kind of qualify, I would say, or quantify. So feel free to chime in to give examples. That's my quick definition. But.
Well, so I'll actually move on to John. What benefits do soft skills offer employers?
Can I ask a question of the audience?
Absolutely.
Who here plays sports? Anyone? I see several hands going up. You're learning some really valuable lessons, okay, on the basketball court, on the football field, on the baseball diamond, or whatever it is, okay? Come the end of the day, we work as a team, okay? I can look at the 200 people that we employ, and every single one of them, you know, we rely on, okay? Whether it's our business development people who are out there, you know, drumming up new business for us, whether it's our chief scientific officer who's looking at, you know, different types of reports that we can generate for our clients based on what's going on in the industry, whether it's our folks who are executing the studies that we do in our lab, whether it's the folks who are writing our reports, and I could go through my entire organization of 200 people. But really being able to work with each other is absolutely critical, okay? Now, if you play sports, great place to learn, okay, without question. Okay, if you're on the basketball court, everyone out there in that court contributes to the team winning, or in some cases, the team not winning, okay? Same thing is true in the business world. I'd look at you and say, okay, the jocks aren't the only ones who can get it. Okay, you also can get it from other places, whether it's internships, which we'll probably talk about later. You know, great opportunity for you to learn, you know, professionally, how do you work as a team, and how do you support each other, how do you effectively communicate with each other. Whether you work part-time while going to school, you know, that was the path I know I followed. You learn tons of lessons with that. Again, working with each other, managing and balancing your time. So, Diane, you know, I think those are some of the benefits of some of those soft skills, and hopefully they can provide some examples of where folks can get.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. It's interesting, my question for both Sue and Paul, it's funny, you both have kind of covered that in your responses, but if there's something you'd like to add, you know, more about, you know, hard versus soft skills and why soft skills are so important.
I can talk a little bit about that with respect to public accounting. So, you know, when a new grad comes into our firm, our whole goal is to get them, you know, up to speed technically. You know, get them to learn how do you put together a good financial statement, how do you put together a tax return, but also how do you communicate with your team and work well with them and you know, get used to dealing with the clients. But as you progress in your career, it becomes much less about that technical, you know, side of the business. Yes, you have to keep your technical skills up to date, but it's more about becoming a business advisor to your clients. So it's really more about relationships. Again, you know, getting that client to trust you, and you know, clients are much more apt to forgive if there might be a small mistake made if you have a very strong relationship with them, and they're looking for guidance from you. So you know, you really, you know, not only have to have those strong technical skills, but you really have to have great client service skills. You have to have great you know, relationship building skills, and then the last piece of that is business development. You have to be able to bring in business to the firm. So, you know, those hard skills, those technical skills are just, you know, a piece of really what you need to, you know, concentrate on, you know, during your career.
So the hard skills are knowing your content. When I'm hiring a teacher, I need somebody who can actually do the math that they're going to be teaching the students. That's an important skill. We also need you to know what we call pedagogy. That's the how to teach that skill. Because you're right now sitting here listening to the quote, sage on the stage. We're talking at you for this time period. But the team here has designed activities to try to engage you further, to take that learning in a different direction, for you to put that into a way that you can make it applicable to yourselves. That's all great. I need my teachers to know that. And the college is going to do a great job of giving them those skills. The pedagogy, the content. But education is so much more than that. Much of it is around the communication piece of it. I need my teachers, I need my staff to be articulate with parents, with the community. I need them to be articulate with each other. Teamwork is incredibly important. No longer do we have classrooms with one teacher in it working with their students all day, never interacting with anybody else. We now have collaborative teaching going on with a special ed teacher working with a regular education teacher and a teaching assistant, and other specialists coming in and out. I need them to be clear and articulate when they're talking with their students. I also need them to be empathetic. I need them to understand where their families and students are coming from, because not every child comes to school with all of the skills and all of the supports ready to learn. And I need my staff to understand that all of those kids come in with different backgrounds and that we need to reach them for where they are. And so I need staffs that understand that, that understand the differences in culture and in background. That's all very important. I need them to be thinkers. I need them to be able to think on their feet, because no day in a classroom goes the way you planned. No matter how well planned you are, you can guarantee that one of those little cherubs is going to take the day in a completely different direction than you ever anticipated. And sometimes it's an easy turnaround, and sometimes the train is going down the track at breakneck speed, and we have to be able to put the brakes on and figure out how to get control again. So I need people to be thinkers. I need them to be able to react to situations calmly and thoughtfully. I need them to be organized. As creative as I'd like educators to be, I will tell you that I see more educators fall apart their first year's teaching because they're not organized. And when the organization falls apart, the students go in different directions. And if you've ever seen someone trying to herd cats, you know what it's like on a daily basis trying to bring students back together. The more organized and structured they are, the better their day goes. And all of those skills are incredibly important. And finally, I need them to be thinking about the school as more than just their classroom, but all of the other things that go along with it. The school activities, the dances. I need them to be willing to come in early and meet with a parent who's on their way to work, but is really upset about a grade that their child brought home. I need them to stay late and run the photography club or the chess club after school for some of those students who need it, or a homework club. And I need them to help me chaperone the dance. By the way, we have one tomorrow night, and if anyone's interested, 3 hours of 7th and 8th graders, more fun than anyone should have alone. So let me know. I'll gladly invite you along to that. So I need those kinds of people who will be willing to jump in and get.
Is why that student experience may get you hired. So when all of you are reviewing resumes and cover letters, what are some of the activities and experiences that students participate in during their college years that particularly stand out to you? So I know we talked a little bit about athletics, we talked a little bit about study abroad. What are some of the other things that you might look at? And let me also say, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, so I've had employers say to me that they will look at a resume for about 20 seconds and determine whether or not they want to continue looking at this resume or not. If you can also tell us what in that 20 seconds will grab your attention. So anyone can start that one. Okay.
I like to see one student experience is having being a resident assistant. So for the May Institute, we have residential programs, and even if I wasn't recruiting specifically for a residential program, I think the skills acquired through being a resident assistantship are management skills, event planning skills. So, I mean, within 5 seconds, and if I see a resident assistant, I immediately kind of pick that resume out. Study abroad skills, I know that was mentioned, but definitely it's just an experience that, shows that, appreciation of diversity in different cultures.
So there are some positions in education that literally the interview looks something like fog the mirror, check the pulse, sign the paperwork, because there are some areas where there are shortages, but that's not the reality for most of it. We had an elementary education position, and a 4th grade position yielded 400 applications. We don't have time to spend 15, 20 minutes on 400 applications. So some of the ones that are not professionally written are automatically eliminated, and then that starts to to narrow things down a little bit. But for the education people out there, what I will tell you is, you're not competing against the veteran teacher. You're competing against other newbies. I look at my staffing, and if I've got a team of 4th grade teachers who are all new, then I might look for a veteran teacher that I can bring in to support that. If I've got a team of veteran people, then I'm looking for somebody new that I can bring in and bring through the ranks that will come in at less money and will bring some energy into the team. So your application, if you should get an interview, you're competing against other newbies. Every one of you is going to put that you student taught on that resume. and you're gonna tell me that you planned a lesson and you worked independently in your classroom for a few weeks, I could write it for you. That's not what I need to see. That doesn't set you apart from anybody else. It puts you right there in the middle of the pack. I want to see what other things you have done and what those will bring to my school. Did you study abroad? Do you have this understanding of other cultures and therefore an understanding of perhaps the students that might be attending our schools? Do you have certain skills that you might be able to offer in mini courses or after school activities? Do you have a particular area that you might have a real expertise in, such as mathematics? And even though you're an elementary classroom teacher, you can really focus on that. Did you have a certain job experience? Did you show that you were responsible in the same job for a number of years? A sport that you might coach? Any of those things. What I say to you is this: think about what makes you uniquely you. Think about it now, develop it, and when you're interviewing with me, when you're writing that cover letter, you find a way to let me know about what makes you uniquely you, so that I want you to be part of the team because of that uniqueness.
To add to all of that, what I look for really is somebody who's well-rounded. You know, and it doesn't have to be any particular, you have to have done this or you have to have done that. You know, everybody's different. So, you know, there may be a student that, you know, worked full-time, you know, while they are going to school full-time. They don't have a lot of time to do, you know, the community service, you know, projects and to, you know, get involved in all the clubs and being part of a team. But, you know, there has to be a story. You know, I look at that individual and say, boy, they must have very good time management skills. They can multitask. You know, they have a strong work ethic. So that's, you know, one piece of it. Then you have somebody that hasn't worked. You know, they don't have a job. Well, you know what? Then what I want to see from that individual is, yes, not only have they gone to class, but, you know, yes, they are, you know, president of the, you know, accounting association. Plus, they've done some community service. They've had an internship, you know, outside the classroom. So, you know, it doesn't have to be any particular things, but it has to be. There has to be some, I guess, some meat to that resume. You know, if I get a resume that's basically a student that, you know, has on their resume that they went to school and they went to class, that's not enough. It's got to be, you know, there's got to be more to it than that.
So, Diane, a couple of things I'd throw out there for folks to consider. You know, first and foremost, I see a lot of students and parents here, and, you know, to the students who are here, I'd say, you know, you're really lucky that your parents are here. Rely on them, okay? They have this thing called experience, okay? They have walked in they have walked the path that you're going to be embarking on, okay? They know the lessons of the world of work. So when you're putting together your resume, when you're putting together your cover letters, bounce it off of them first, okay? And partner with them, absolutely partner with career services. You know, secondly, I'd look at you and I'd say, do what you love and love what you do. Okay, one of the beautiful things about being where you are in life right now is it's like a fitting room. You can try a ton of things on, okay, before you find the thing that you really want to do and that you're going to be passionate about. If you've discovered it already, fantastic. You're lucky. Count your blessings. I'll tell you, when I graduated with a degree in political science, I thought I was going to save the world. You know, I'm working for a lab that's doing environmental impact testing now. That's my contribution to society. I was lucky fairly quickly to find out what it was that I loved doing, and that was training and developing people and eventually working in human resources. A couple other things I'd throw at you. If the first time you see my email address is in a advertisement at monster.com or indeed.com, yeah, you're in the running, but you're on the late end, okay? Earlier, you heard me talk about relationships and building relationships, okay? My technical staff and my technical directors know the professors, you know, who teach chemistry and who teach biology, okay? They know them on a first-name basis. If any of them get a referral from a member, okay, of the faculty here at Bridgewater State, I will guarantee that resume will get an interview. okay? Even if there's a spelling error on it. Hopefully there won't be, okay? Because that's usually the first rule you don't want to break, okay? So networking in through, the faculty is critical. The other place that'll get your resume to the top of the pile is through an employee referral, okay? At least when I went to school, when we didn't have laptops or tablets or internet access or a lot of things that y'all have today, we did group projects. I'm quite sure you do group projects today. If you really kick butt and take names on those group projects where you're working with others, again, some lessons to be gathered there, okay? You're going to begin to build that network, and when you're looking for that job, all of a sudden you have a couple other people helping you look. That's going to get your resume, again, to the top of the pile. A couple other avenues I talked about, and hopefully you're picking up through us today. It's just not one path, okay? It's that'll get you to where you want to be. It's just not Washington Street or Main Street or Center Street, okay? There are multiple avenues that you can travel to get there. If you're working, okay, and many folks do need to work, okay? Make sure you are learning some really good lessons as a result of what you're doing. And document those lessons, okay? One of my hiring managers here looks at me on a regular basis and says, John, did they work at Chili's? Did they tend bar? Were they a waiter? Were they a waitress? And if they were, make sure you put those resumes, at the top of the pile, because there's customer service there, okay? There's time management there. There's attention to detail there, okay? And there are a ton of learnings that you get as a result of being a waiter, a bartender, okay? You wouldn't think you get them, but you do, okay? Beyond that, you also get work ethic, okay? And if you can work until 1 a.m., okay, make the money that you need to live, and pull a decent GPA, that resume's got my attention. So, Diane, hopefully.
Might visit the last question, but that was actually excellent. So I'm going to pick on a couple of students, random, if anyone will share. So at this point, I would like to ask any of the students in the audience that are either in part-time jobs or you're active on campus and you've been having some difficulty trying to make meaning of that work that you're doing, and you're wondering, well, would an employer care about this? Is anyone willing to share maybe, something that they're involved with on campus, and you've got employers that can tell you, here's why your involvement in this particular organization or this particular activity is meaningful to us? Anyone at all? Don't be shy. Anyone at all? I won't pick on the two where I sat at the table, so, or I might. And anyone at all? You've got it, oh yes, in the back.
Greek life?
Greek life, very good one. I'm in Greek life too, so, and I can answer that, but I'm not. I'm gonna have, Jess, you're Greek life.
I'm not.
You're not, oh, okay, all right. So Greek life, fraternity and sorority life. Thinking, what you may know about Greek life, how might an employer look at that on a resume?
So for Greek life, from our perspective, first of all, most of the time, they all have to participate in, community service projects. So, you're all working together toward a common goal and figuring out how to get that project done. There's also typically leadership roles, in those types of organizations. So, that will bode well for, an employer, having those leadership type of roles. So, and just, being able to, live, in cohesive environment with, with that same group of individuals and learn how to, work together is huge. So, I don't know if anybody has something to add.
Well, Susan, I think you told them why that's important. I think it's really important for you in the interview to tell me, because some of us have more knowledge about certain things than others. And so when you say Greek life, I didn't participate. I have a cursory understanding of that. But when you can articulate just what Susan did, tell me about the leadership roles that you took, the service that you did as part of that organization. Now you've made that little line in your resume much fuller and much more complete for me. And that's that little selling point that makes you different than the other candidates. You have that community service that you did with your comrades.
So actually, on that note, I'm gonna flip it a little bit. So if any student has, say, a part-time job, that, which I'm sure a lot of you do, and say it has absolutely nothing to do with your career, raise your hand, tell us what that job is, and I will have the students say, what skill set do you think, and you're probably looking at me like, don't ask me. She's like, oh my gosh, she's gonna look at me. But you know, what is it that you think you're learning at, say, that part-time job? Maybe it's landscaping.
There you go.
Who's I didn't even know that. So yeah, you, because I sat at your table. So landscaping. So hearing this, and I'm gonna put you on the spot. What do you think it is maybe with landscaping that might, because I know you're a Spanish major, and we didn't even get to talk about careers, but you know, say for example, you might want to teach at his school, teach Spanish, teach languages. So you're a landscaper.
I'm true this summer, by the way.
So how would you take what you learn as a landscaper and apply that in an interview? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
You have to quickly learn like good people skills and like a customer could come up to you and ask you, okay, this is what we agreed on, but could you do this instead, or can you do this in addition, or stuff like that.
Do you work under adverse conditions, bad weather?
Yes.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how pleasant the conditions are, you show up for work anyway. And you're there. Are you there early? Or on time at least?
Yes.
We can show up on the right day. Yeah. But what you want to be able to say to me is, yes, you show up early, you stay late, you make sure the job gets done. It's not about the clock, it's about pride in the work, so that customers return, look for you to come back again, will rehire you, will rehire your company.
I also want to point out that what you mentioned in that is that also problem solve. You know, a customer comes up and says, well, I want you to do something else. You've got to think on your feet. You've got to figure out, okay, how do I handle that situation? So right there, that's, you know, a huge skill that you can utilize in any position.
And if you've worked for that person for a little while, and you're putting that packet together, that's a great reference. Hiring education majors, I would like some people who have seen you in the classroom. Maybe the teacher you work with when you did your student teaching, or the principal of that school who may have observed you a little bit, but a professor even. But if you've worked for that landscaping company consistently and they continue to rehire you each summer, call you back again, and they're going to talk about those soft skills for you. How you are punctual, how you are someone that they can trust, that they can leave unattended, that they know you're going to do the job correctly. Those skills are those soft skills that we're talking about that transfer over. I can then trust that I can trust you with a project I give you, and it's going to get done and done well, and you're going to take pride in it.
So, I would throw out there project management, which I think is something the four people up here all would hire for. Okay, bottom line is you're lining up resources, you're lining up people, you got to get the project done, and it's got to be done on budget, and it's got to be done on time. Okay, because ultimately your employer is looking to make a profit. Okay, versus just doing it just for the fun of it. So, project management skills are something that we all hire for. That I would assume you have the opportunity to really master there.
Another thing that I was thinking of is how if you're able to train somebody else, so even if you work at Dunkin' Donuts but you've trained a new employee, that's a big skill that comes across as you're able to take a leadership role and your manager trusted you to train somebody else. So that's something else.
Can I just add something
Sure.
real quickly? I'm not sure if Career Services here has something called a Lomager card sort. Do you?
John?
We used to use that,
Okay.
yes.
Use Career Services. okay, if you're working part-time, okay, because every single job that you have today, again, I don't care if you're waiting tables, raking leaves, tending bar, I don't care what it is. There are skills you're learning. You don't know you're learning them, but you're learning them, okay? You know, sitting down with someone in career services, talking about your job, having a conversation around, you know, what competencies or traits that you're learning, and then document those, okay? Do yourself a favor, put together a little professional diary. You know, here's where I worked, and this is what I learned, okay? And have a couple examples of things that you did, okay, that demonstrate that learning. Because it's not just enough during the course of an interview to say, yeah, I learned X, okay, and leave it at that, okay? It's great to be able to say, I learned X, and here's how I did it, okay? And have 3 or 4 examples of how you've accomplished it. You have that as an interviewer, I'm blown away, okay? If you're an employee referral, okay, who's done that, I'm thinking to myself, so-and-so has already learned their employee referral bonus.
And if I could just build on something that John just said, not only did you learn X, tell me how you're going to apply it in the new situation.
Yeah.
So I've learned this, and this is what how I'm going to bring it to your organization.
So I'm actually gonna turn it around to the audience. Of our employers, the floor is open, the floor is yours. Any questions? Any at all?
I have a question. Do students necessarily need a cover letter? Because nowadays, some people say yes cover letters, some people say no, and if they apply online for positions, sometimes they don't require it. So how do they know which is the correct form for them?
So this is a personal preference, and let me preface my response with that. No. You know, I jump right into the resume. You know, we post, you know, an entry-level chemist job or an entry-level biologist job, and chances are good I'm going to have 300 resumes that are going to show up in a matter of 2 weeks. And as I'm going through those resumes, I have my red pen out, and I am circling some keywords that I'm looking for in a matter of 20 seconds. Never mind going through a cover letter.
Yeah, from my perspective, it depends if it asks, you know, if the ad says you need to send a cover letter, so look and see what documents they're requiring and do exactly what they're telling you to do. So if they don't ask for a cover letter, then don't send one. So, because most likely it will just be, you know, put aside. So, but if it does ask for, you know, for one, make sure that you do it and make sure it's written well.
I have one more thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The other thing that hasn't been brought up is, granted you go into the interview, get interviewed. No one has mentioned the fact that usually you do a thank you letter acknowledgement for taking the time to, you know, let me see you, apply for the position. That has not been mentioned in all of the schools.
Couldn't agree more, and I'm going to actually say that being in a different field, I want the cover letter. You're applying for an education position. I need to know that you can demonstrate your knowledge of the English language so that you can teach the English language. And I want to make sure that when you send a letter home to a parent, that there are no errors in it. A cover letter, you've practiced, you've had someone else edit. When I see errors in a cover letter, that's an automatic, I'm not even interviewing you. Because if you couldn't be clear in that letter, if you couldn't be crisp and you couldn't make sure that the errors were not there, what happens when you have to write a note quickly and send it home to a parent? As a parent, if I got a note from my child's teacher that had grammar errors in it and spelling errors in it, I saw a teacher who spelled principal P-L-E rather than P-A-L, and I thought, you work with the principal. How can you get this one wrong? And not once, but twice. That's a problem. The thank you note is another way of showing your skill. And it's, in my opinion, it's also a great way to remind me of you in the interview. I would always recommend that it's not just enough to say thank you for meeting with me. Kick out something that was particularly salient to that interview. An area that you think you connected, something that set you apart, made you special, and make reference to it in the thank you note. Because you may have been great as the third interview of 8, but now that I've seen 8, you're starting to fade a little bit in my memory. That note reminds me of that conversation that we had about your study abroad and how you're going to bring that back to the classroom. And so you put yourself right back at the top of the pack again with a note like that.
One thing also too, I mean, I definitely, a cover letter isn't required for some of the jobs, but if you have a cover letter, I think it shows a little bit extra effort. So that's kind of my personal opinion there. But also too, a lot of times online applications require if you submit a resume, and the online application is almost duplicating what's on your resume. And I see so many people that just write "see resume," and it takes an extra 2 seconds for them to just copy and paste that information onto the application. So I would say definitely, kind of reiterating, just follow the instructions, and if they ask you to do an application with the resume, do the full application, answer the summary section at the bottom, even if it's 2 sentences. Just make sure it's complete.
I think definitely a thank you, after an interview is very important. If I have 2 students that one sent me one and one didn't, and I'm trying to decide, which person to bring back for that second interview, I'm going to go for that person that, sent that thank you letter and set themselves apart that way. And sometimes that's what it comes down to. So.
Show of hands, how many people have one of these? Almost everyone in here. Right now I have 73 items in my in-basket. I can thank taking today off to recover from last night as being the primary reason for that. The reason why I mention it though is the natural thing is to go to the latest and greatest technology and use it. Okay? You have my business card, my email address is on my business card. You can write a thank you letter when you get home, or a thank you email when you get home, and I can get it. And chances are really good I'm going to see it pop up on Outlook, and I'm going to read it and then delete it. Just being honest. Okay? However, if you use one of these, I'm not sure if they still issue these in college, it's called a pen. And, Hallmark tends to sell these things called thank you cards. If you do a little old school, okay, and I'll apologize, I graduated 25 years ago from college. Do a little old school, get that thank you card stock, and get one of these, have the 2 come together and craft out a note. That will hit my desk. And chances are good that thank you card will sit on my desk. So as I'm talking with a hiring manager about candidates, that thank you card's a great reminder, okay, versus the thank you email.
The writing skills are very important. If you're coming in for a position, it's entirely possible we'll ask you to come early and give you a writing prompt. Now again, that's not necessarily the same in other fields, but in education, it's very likely. I can tell you it's a guarantee for any administrator I hire. If I hire a principal or I hire a director, they're going to have a writing prompt before they even start. And it's one more question that I'm asking them. And we do it oftentimes when we have time for teachers as well. So.
We have time for one more question. Yes, right here.
Well, my question kind of has to do with, jobs are so competitive now, granted they've kind of always been, but you guys have talked a lot about soft skills, but would you guys as employees, if you had a very strong resume and clear hard skills that were good, would you be willing to forgive someone who had only the bare minimum soft skills, or who might not be like the most charming interviewer, but had proof that they would be good in their field?
Good question.
I'll start. I'm going to say, to be honest, I would say I probably would go towards the person that may not have as strong technical academics, and towards the student that's a little bit more well-rounded. I will be honest. We actually, I'll tell you a couple of stories that we have hired students with, that 4.0 student who is, very strong academically, but, was a little bit, kind of short on the, the other things, and they struggled, with, becoming part of, a team, about, really being able to connect with clients out in the field. So I know that there's, students out there that say, you know what, I've got that 4.0, it doesn't matter that I haven't done any of those other things, but in reality, from our perspective, it does matter. I don't know if people agree, but.
I couldn't agree more, and I would say, we also recognize the first time you go for an interview. I know when I'm interviewing first-time candidates, it's your first interview for a teaching position. I get that and I understand, but that's the way I measure the skills that you have to do the job. And the soft skills tell me more about the hard skills. I mentioned pedagogy, I mentioned content. If I ask you a question and I'm looking for a long answer and you say, fine, and then we have this pregnant pause for a little while, I'm trying to pull that answer out from you. I strongly suggest you take advantage of career planning office. They'll do mock interviews with you. They'll set them up. I've come out here and done them. Find a friend who will ask you questions, a parent, and have them evaluate whether or not you answer the question. Look for some other strategies. I tell people, if you get nervous and you're worried about the interview, take a pad with you. Write the question down so that you can take a moment, reread the question, and make sure that you covered all the parts. That's okay. It's all right to say in an interview that you don't know the answer to that question, but you'll make sure that if you're ever asked it again, you won't be caught by surprise. And then make sure that you try to cover the other questions. There are lots of little strategies like that that professionals can help you with so that you do better in that interview. But that interview is really important, and you're right, I look for the whole package because I've got a lot of people. A lot of you are coming in with the content. A lot of you are coming in with that, a good resume, good transcripts. I need something more.
Yeah, I echo that well-roundedness kind of over the just strong hard skills. I think that, a lot of people, and sometimes it's easier to explain the hard skills because people aren't used to kind of selling themselves in a way. So I think the more you are able to practice through the activities that you're going to do tonight and through career services, it will make it easier.
So we're going to be 4 for 4 here, okay? But I don't want to leave it at just that. For the last 17 years of my professional life, I've had a personal development plan that I discussed with my various supervisor multiple times during the course of the year. I'd encourage you, say if you're shy and quiet, and connecting with others is something that's a challenge to you, or a challenge for you. Put that on your development plan, okay? And make the folks at Career Services earn their paycheck, okay? That'll get my attention.
I had a principal who at one point in an interview said, I am going to be so good on the car ride home. Have we all had that moment? Oh man, you get in the car afterwards and you think about, I should have said and I could have included, and the answers just flow from you at that point. We've all had that moment, and sometimes using humor is part of it. But remember, you are the product in that interview, and there's nobody else who's going to be there telling us how great you are. It's the one time that you have to be boastful. It's the one time that you have to really sell yourself. Yes, it may feel uncomfortable, that you feel like you're being arrogant to talk about all of your strengths and how wonderful you are. But if you don't tell me you're wonderful in that interview, there's nobody else who's going to come in and tell me afterwards.
That's so true. Sue, did you want to say one more?
Just one more thing, yes. When you're talking about those qualities that you have that are so wonderful, make sure you have things to back them up. We can all say, I am great at this. But you're going to have to tell me, show me, you know what I mean? So have examples, so think about that when you're, putting your list together about, I've got this quality and this quality and this quality. And then, beside them, write down the examples and the situations where you showed those qualities. So.
Sue, Paul, Jessica, and John, thank you so much for your expert advice and candid advice as well. And let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. So now I'd like to bring up Jenny Shanahan. She is the Director of Undergraduate Research, and she's going to lead us in our next exercise. So if everyone, our panelists will go back to their tables and get ready for some additional fun stuff. Thank you.
Anyone need dessert while we transition or more to eat? Thank you. It's great to be with you tonight. I'm Jenny Shanahan. I direct undergraduate research here at BSU, which is a program that connects students in every major with faculty members in their programs to work on scholarly projects together. Sometimes that takes place in the curriculum. Sometimes that's co-curricular during the academic year, and we also have a summer research program. So I'm happy to tell you more about that if you want to know. But what we thought we'd do is take some of this great advice that we just heard from the panelists and start to put it into practice, thinking about students' own growing resumes and career plans, in maybe using an example in between. So we're gonna perhaps be like career counselors in this exercise as a way to think about how we might help students who are very much like the students here, and then we hope that those translate into your own experiences. So we'll actually move in a little bit to fill out the other tables, but I'll first tell you what we're going to do, and then we can do that transition piece. So on each table is a stack of 5 resumes. They're all on a different colored paper, and they are very representative of BSU students because they are actual BSU student resumes with identifying information on. And on the flip side of each resume is a brief profile of the student represented there on the resume. You can use the profile or not. It may help you to get a better feel for the student represented on the resume. And we thought you can, at your table with your facilitator, choose 1 or 2 of the resumes that speak to you. Maybe you just like the color of paper it's on, or if you have a student at your table, it may line up more closely with that student's experience than some of the others. And we also have a stack of cards that have a series of soft skills that employers have communicated with our own career services as the most valuable skills that they see in the people they're trying to hire. So that set of cards has a soft skill on one side, and the flip side of each card has a definition or a little bit fuller explanation of that skill. And then finally, the white piece of paper on your table differentiates between what we might call hard and soft skills, and on the back side of that, a little more information on what particular soft skills might look like as they're expressed in a cover letter, a resume, in an interview. So just some prompts to get you going. You can use, like we said, any of the resumes that you have there. You could substitute. If you have a student with you at your table, you could substitute your own experience. It's just a way to start thinking about, if you were counseling the student before you, represented on this piece of paper, what do you see there that may be buried? Maybe it's too far down on the resume. Maybe it's not expressed in a clear, skill-oriented way. Maybe you want to know more about something, and there may even be, there's one resume I have in mind, there may even be too much attention spent on something that seems less important than things that get shorter shrift. So it's really open about what advice you might give, and then we'll, when we wrap things up tonight, we'll see what kinds of ideas have emerged from your table. We'll have a few people report out to see what kinds of ideas that then you can carry forward to your own students' experiences. Any questions about what we're doing? Okay, we have lots of able facilitators to help you. So I'm hoping that at each of these forward tables, 2 or 3 people, or
Yeah,
Diane
actually-
has a different idea?
I've already broken up, I'm actually breaking up 2 right now.
You
So,
got it, okay,
yeah,
so
I'm gonna
Diane's
handpick
got that,
them, yeah.
so that we can have a little bit smaller groups for the discussion.